back to my channel if you are a returning viewer, and if you are a new viewer, welcome and thank you for clicking on my video. I'm Becky and this is my podcast where I talk about my knitting, my sewing and anything else that I have been getting up to in the past week or two. It has been 2 weeks since I last podcast. I'd planned to do something last week when I was having my craft day with my parents, but we were just having such a relaxed time that it didn't feel right to get the camera out and add that to the day. So I just relaxed and got a good amount of knitting done. So I'm just gonna get straight in and show you what I have done since the last time we spoke. I have got 2 finished objects to show you, which I'm very excited about. The first of which I finished last Friday on our craft day, and that is my Santa baby socks. The yarn is from Fibre Fox, the Fibre Fox, and the pattern is just my made up DK sock recipe with a fish lips kiss heel. That is the heel that I prefer to do, and I'm so happy with how they've turned out. They are absolutely gorgeous. I had quite a good amount of yarn left, so I guess I'm now going to have to start thinking about what to do with my DK weight leftovers. So yeah, that's an exciting thought. I don't have loads of DK weight leftovers, particularly not like pretty hand dyed leftovers, but maybe I'll start a blanket now whilst I have very few leftovers, and then maybe I can actually stay on top of it and not get out of hand. That would be amazing, but you know, yeah. So really happy with these. They are Christmas socks. These are my Christmas Eve cast on. Yeah, my plan is, now that I've shown them to you, I'm going to pack them away into my sock box, and they're going to sit there until next Christmas. So my parents were like, how can you possibly pack those away and keep them for 12 months without wearing them? And I was like, well, this was the point of them. I want more socks for Christmas time, winter time, and yeah, I'm actually really excited that these are basically going to be like a little Christmas present to myself come Christmas time. And my second finished object, also socks, and that is my January socks. The yarn is from a Homespun House. It's an old yarn of the month that I got in a D-stash, and the pattern is String of Lights by Sock Witchery, and I love them so much. I finished them over the weekend, last weekend, and somehow I have managed to not wear them so that I could show them to you while they're all nice and clean, but I am currently not wearing socks, so they will be going on my feet as soon as I finish recording, possibly before. Really happy with how these turned out. The yarn is beautiful, so soft. It's a merino cashmere nylon blend, which I've never worked with before, never had the pleasure of having on my feet. So I'm really excited to wear these. I'm a little bit nervous that they're gonna wear out because of the cashmere, but in theory the nylon will save me there. Socks. If you haven't watched my podcast before, I said a couple of episodes ago that my plan was to knit a pair of socks every month, like at least one pair of socks every month, but that I wanted to have like a January sock, a February sock, etc, etc. And originally I'd kind of planned for those to be new cast-ons, like and knit throughout the month. And I think I even said in my Instagram post about my January socks that I really liked that they were sort of cast on the first, and then those ones were pretty much cast off the last day of the month. And I did like that. It was really nice that it took me January to make them, and that it wasn't a stress to kind of try and get them finished really early. I just enjoyed them for the whole month. But then I've realised that I've actually got quite a few pairs of socks on the needles that I haven't been working on. And so I decided that maybe I was gonna just say that I wanted to finish a pair of socks every month, so that, you know, by the end of the year I would have 12 new pairs of socks. But yeah, maybe take that pressure off myself to cast on and cast off a sock every month, but also it kind of encouraged me to go to my whips zones, of which there are many, and pick out a pair of socks that I genuinely really love and just haven't been working on. So February's socks are these socks that I started back in May last year. It was just before summer sock camp, and I started them because I was desperate to start some more socks before summer sock camp started. Yeah, I kind of expected myself to do a lot more sock knitting last summer, and I didn't. So these just fell off and I didn't pick them up, and I think I had knit the heel flap and then I'd stalled at doing the gusset decreases, which is very common for me. And also since then I have decided that I don't like the heel flap and gusset in a sock as much. I like the Fish Lips Kiss heel. So I, a couple of months ago, went back in and took out the heel flap and gusset and put in a Fish Lips Kiss heel in the hope that that would encourage me to pick the socks up again. But no. So, but I really love it. I mean, this is my hand-dyed yarn. It is my Fruit Loops colourway. The colour isn't really showing up on the camera here, but it's like rainbowy, just loveliness. I really like it and they make me so happy. So I picked them back up again and decided that these were going to be my February socks. Also, I thought, you know, February is a short month and so having a sock that I've already started gives me a little bit of a head start. So yeah, so I was basically at the heel when I picked these up, and then I took these to my knit night on Wednesday, which I will talk more about at the end. Took these to my knit night on Wednesday, and just through chatting and knitting and, you know, all of the great things of knit night, I just like ploughed through pretty much the entire foot, which was fantastic. And then last night I started on the toe decreases. So this will be finished today, and I will get the second one cast on, and that'll make me feel really good about my February socks, because they will be, you know, well in progress before the end of the first week of February. I'll talk about these quickly. I picked out some socks that needed mending. These socks I knit, I don't know how long ago, and then they got thrown in the washing machine, and I discovered that the contrasting that I'd use for the heels, cuffs and toes was actually wool, pure wool, and so those parts felted, and so the cuff is like solid. It's a bit of stretch in it, but definitely not enough stretch for me to get it on my foot. So I knew what I needed to do, but I was too nervous to do it, and so these just got packed away into a bag and forgotten about for about 2 years. And then the other day I was like, these just need to get out of my drawer and get finished. So I picked them up and I chopped off the cuff and picked up the stitches, and I'm just knitting a new cuff. And it looks quite tight because I think I must have knit the sock on a 2.5 or a 2.75 millimeter needle, because there's only 52 stitches, and that would definitely not fit me if I was knitting them on a 2.25 millimeter needle. So but they do fit me, so they must be on a much looser gauge, and I can tell because I can like basically see through the sock. So yeah, so the cuff does look a bit tight, but it's got a good stretch in it, so I think it's going to be okay. I just need to find a super stretchy bind off for the top. And I mentioned these on Instagram, and that I was chopping off the top and knitting a new cuff, and I had a couple of people sort of, what, chopping off, you're chopping your knitting? So I am hopefully today going to be recording just a quick video. I don't want to call it a tutorial because that really sort of like throws up my imposter syndrome, and I'm like, no, I'm not a knitting teacher, I can't do that. But I am going to show you how I did it, basically, how I picked up the stitches and chopped off the cuff and everything, and believe me, it is way less stressful than it sounds. And I think probably particularly if you're doing it on a pair of like socks that have been worn a little bit, even a sock with like nylon in it is gonna, like, after it's been washed a few times and it's been worn quite a few times, the stitches are going to like have found their place to sit. You know, you can tell from just this little tail here that's like super springy, like the yarn has found its place that it wants to sit, and so you know, you're not going to chop it and it's not all going to unravel and it's not going to be a disaster. So there will be a video coming about how I am fixing these socks. What else? I've got quite a few things to show you, if I'm honest. I, at some point last week or the week before, decided that I just really wanted to cast on a hat. I haven't knit a hat in quite a while, so it's particularly not a hat for me. I made the boys the little pixie hoods for Christmas, but I haven't knit a hat for me in quite a while, and so I've wanted to do the Musselburgh hat, and so I cast on a Musselburgh hat. The yarn, I can't remember exactly what it is. It's a, oh hang on, here we go, I found the label. Fibre Spates Vivacious 4-ply in Blush. And this is, if you remember, I was knitting a little jumper for a friend's little girl for Christmas. This is what's left over. It took me a skein and about, like, you know, this much of the second skein to finish the jumper. So I had, oh, it's gone. I had a whole ball left pretty much, and so hopefully it will be enough to make a Musselburgh hat, and if it isn't, I'll just put a little stripe on the end and that will be the inside of the hat. So it'll be fine. If you don't know the Musselburgh hat, it's a pattern by Isolde Teague, and it's basically like a tube that you've increased on one end and decreased on the other, and then you stuff one end inside the other, and then that's your hat. So check it out. It's a really great pattern. The beginning is a little bit, I found it intimidating because I don't usually knit swatches, and you don't swatch, your knitting that you're doing is the swatch, but the idea of like starting to knit and then measuring it all and then having to compare charts, I've already made that sound way more complicated than it is. It's super straightforward, but yeah, I think I'd heard somebody explain it roughly similarly to how I've just explained it and was like, charts, comparisons, no. So yeah, it's not stressful at all. It's super straightforward, and once you have done all the increases, then it's just like a big sock. So yeah, and I'm just working on it casually. I'm not sort of trying to get it finished by any particular time. I'm just working on it as and when I want to. Oh, there's more, yet more. This is just a quick one. I have started work again on my Cozy Memories blanket. I think I've shown you this before, but possibly not. It's very wee, but yeah, I've got my bag here with all of my scraps and all of my like leftovers from my advent calendar, and I got some Bumbling Yarns minis, tiny like scrap minis. So these are just like 5 grams, but it only takes about 3 grams to knit a square, so that's fine. So all of those are going to go into the Cozy Memories blanket, and then I need to restart this because I've had some issues with tension, but then I have made, with all of my like under 3 gram scraps, I have made a magic knot ball, which I am then using. I'm just gonna make a super crazy granny stripe blanket. But you can see it's sort of pulling in. My starter chain was too tight, so I need to rip that out and start it again. But I don't mind that. At least I was like not even fully into the first row when I noticed. So let me know if you want to do like a tiny mini swap. If you're interested in like swapping like 5 gram, little tiny 5 grams just for Cozy Memories blanket, let me know. That would be fun. I would really like to send you some of my leftovers and receive some of your leftovers. That would be fun. This is just yarn that I've wound up. That's like my next DK sock pattern, DK sock plan. It's the Halloween at Hogwarts from a homespun house. Yeah. No, not Halloween. Christmas at Hogwarts from a homespun house. And I really love it. And I think this is going to be my next DK sock. I said that I was going to, my plan was to always have a pair of Christmassy DK socks on the go in my Christmas bag because it makes me happy. And I think that's going to be it. And then this, in this bag, which is my bag from Knitting Unicorns and a homespun house, I have got a new sock design that I'm working on. I'm going to show you from back here. It is a little bit of very simple, I don't even want to call it lace work because it is just yarn overs and like knitting some stitches together so that you don't have extra stitches. And then there's some bobbles as well, and a picot edge. Ugh. Can't show you, but you know what a picot edge looks like, I'm sure. Yeah, there we go. I'm really excited about how this is coming along. These are going to be sort of short socks, so not really short, but not full length, kind of, not as long as this. They're probably going to be like this kind of length ish. Little spring sock, and I'm really excited about how they're coming out. The yarn that I'm using is Bouquet of Roses from Skein and the Stitch. I definitely showed this on my podcast before, I think. Definitely, probably. It's so beautiful. And then the contrasting colour is just a little bit of spruce colourway from Ted Knits. And my aim, dare I say it out loud, is to have this pattern ready for test knitters by the end of this month, beginning of next month, so that it's ready hopefully mid to late March, so that it's ready for spring knitting. I think that is it. So that is all of the crafting content. This has been a long one. I've had so much to talk about. I've been like saying that I wanted to keep these like under 20 minutes, and this is definitely not going to be under 20 minutes. I have to edit this down a little bit, but yeah, it's been nice to talk about my knitting again. It has been 2 weeks since we last spoke, so maybe it's allowed that I talked for a bit longer today. There's lots of live stuff to talk about, but I'm just going to talk to you about my knit night that I started. This was a total step out of my comfort zone. I have been like quietly complaining to myself for quite some time that there is not a knit group in my area. I used to go to a knit night in a pub, and it was like just a really great group of people that went, and it was just so relaxing to go and knit for 2 hours in a pub and have a drink, and yeah. And that's what I wanted. I wanted my old knit group back. So I thought, well, I have to start it then, don't I? Which was, yeah, definitely out of my comfort zone, but I'm so glad that I did it. Our village has got a Facebook group, and so I just went on there and said, anyone interested in a knit night? or like craft night. And yeah, I got the response was like much bigger than I thought. I just had to set up like a separate little Facebook group. So yeah, it's just been so much fun. And we had 2 now, and the first one we got about 5 people, second one we got 5 people, but one of the people was different. But it's just so nice, and I think 5 is, you know, I'm not disappointed that more haven't come. It would be lovely if more people came, but 5 has been a nice number. I think it, you know, it'd be nice at least if it starts off small and then gets bigger, so that like we have time to really properly get to know each other. But yeah, it's just been so interesting to talk to people, and there's a really good range of ages, so it's not all people my age and it's not all like older people. It's a really nice mix of ages, and so we've had some really interesting conversations about families and where everybody's from originally, and like family history, and yeah, it's been really interesting, really fun. And yeah, I mean, as I say, I ploughed through the foot of my sock, so that's great. And it just has been really nice. So it was definitely worth stepping outside of my comfort zone and putting a little call out to the village for other knitters. And the pub that we're in have been really welcoming. I kind of thought, well, if there's only going to be like 3 or 4 of us, then we can probably just get away with turning up on a Wednesday evening. We won't really have to say anything to them, because, you know, 3 or 4 people could just turn up to the pub together regularly anyway. But when I got the response that I got, I was like, oh, I should probably mention that there could be quite a large group of people coming. But they were like, yep, and they've like set us like space aside for us on a Wednesday night, and they're really lovely. So basically, if you want a knit night, if you are sitting there complaining to yourself that there is no knit night near you, you're the one that has to start it, and it could be the best thing you ever do. That is all I have to say. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye.